Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah amma ba'd. What we mean by this clip here is not to talk about the impermissibility of, lewdness and zina and those kind of things. We're not talking about that here. Here we are talking about an aqeedah point which justifies for them what they believe to be permissible when it comes to the way that they have been created. Fakhruddin al-Razi has a book where he talks about aqeedah, and this is known as Asas al-Taqdees. Now, before we continue, we have to make it clear that he did not die upon these beliefs. He was an Ashari, and he was actually a very full-fledged Ashari. And from their aqeedah, they believe in an issue which is known as Jabr. Now, Jabr basically means that you don't have free will, and whatever takes place is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded it to occur, and you have no choice in it. He passed away upon the madhab of the Salaf, rahimahullah. He made tawbah from the madhab of the Asha'ira before he passed away. And this has been confirmed by Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, أن الرازي رجع إلى طريق الوحي والآثار النبوية. He returned back to the path of wahi, the Quran, the Sunnah, and athar, prophetic athar, and prophetic narrations. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he said at the point of death, he had a wasiyah, and in that wasiyah, رجع فيها إلى طريق السلف. He returned back to the madhab of the Salaf. Ibn Salah, one of the ulama of the Shafi'i madhab, a scholar in hadith in his own right, he narrates from someone else that he heard that Fakhruddin al-Razi said on his deathbed, يا ليتني لم أشتغل بعلم الكلام. What was wrong with me? I wish I didn't engage in philosophy and ilm al-kalam in the way that I did. So he made tawbah from all of this. But he has a book which is known as Asas al-Taqdees, the foundations of holiness. This is the name of the book. Ibn Taymiyyah refutes this book, and he has got a book where he returns and refutes everything that's in it, called Naqd Asas al-Taqdees. Right. The Jabariyah, they are, or some of the Asha'ira, I mean the full-fledged, I think the really extreme Asha'ira, they are very much on board when it comes to ilm al-kalam. Okay. In Asas al-Taqdees, Razi mentions Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, and he talks about what he called was the foundations of falsafa, the foundations of philosophy and ilm al-kalam. And he said, in order for you to have any kind of actual realization as to what's going on in the world around you, meaning you don't really know what's happening in the world around you until you have these three. And when you have these three, you have philosophy. Number one, he called it riyadiyat, which is basically the mechanics of how the world works, engineering, mathematics, etc., science. Number two, at-tabi'iyat, the nature of how things work, biology, nature, the natural world, habitats, ecosystems, environment, things like that. And number three, what he called al-ilahiyat. And ilahiyat, he means here a realm of the unseen. If you can understand 1, 2, and 3, and you can affirm that there is a realm of the unseen, you will have a good foundation of falsafa. Okay? Now, this is not the point. The point is coming next. Aristotle then says, when a person has these three in his foundation, he becomes so empowered, he can then even change his fitrah. The more falsafa he has, the more ability he has to change his fitrah. Do you get the idea now here? Some people, they believe in aqeedah, and that aqeedah allows them, according to their aqeedah, to change their fitrah. And they might even establish it on the same three that Aristotle and Razi was, supposedly at that time mentioning, at least if not trying to promote, which was riyadiyat, engineering. We live in a systematic world. So what prevents me from doing this and doing that, if it is possible, etc.? Nature, and even belief in the unseen, belief in some kind of theology. If a person has these things, and the stronger he has them, he is able to change his fitrah. He's able to change his fitrah so that he becomes even more empowered. Now, I don't believe Aristotle means that he can change his fitrah, meaning changing his gender, but you can see where the foundations of this comes from. Ibn Taymiyyah in Naqd Asas al-Taqdis, rahimahullah, he refutes this, and you would imagine the refutation is very similar to what you would probably imagine the refutation to be. Number one, you are created and not the creator. And I'm paraphrasing the response here. The fitrah is part of the man. How can he change his own creation when he is not the creator of it? So you can't change your fitrah, number one. Number two, even if a person, argument's sake, was to change his fitrah, man is constantly changing the way they think. So who's to say that that first change was the right one? Who's to say that other changes that occur will be the right ones? Rather, what we will say, فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. This is the fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us on, and this is the correct fitrah. Point number three, from many other points, but we'll just leave it at this one. If a person's fitrah is correct and protected upon wahi and hidayah and goodness, he will then be steadfast ala nur al-wahi, he says, rahimahullah. This person will be steadfast upon the illumination that the wahi, the revelation, the Quran and the Sunnah gives to him in his path. He will not be in a path of darkness. But when a person is constantly changing his fitrah, it's darkness upon darkness, being lost and misguided and moving to another phase of being lost and misguided. The point here that I'm trying to make is that what we see in the world today, every single thing is connected to some kind of aqeedah. And this aqeedah is not new. And these are from the plots of Iblis and Shaitan. And the more a person has aqeedah and manhaj, he is upon the correct methodology from the Quran and Sunnah understanding of the Salaf al-Salih, as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentions, that a person should have to protect his fitrah in one of his responses here. And the more a person is firm upon his aqeedah and learns aqeedah and implements what he is learning and the things that he believes in, this will keep a person, inshallah, steadfast upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Without that, then it's a free-for-all. You can find yourself anywhere. To the extent where a person will have an aqeedah where he says, okay, I've got an understanding of the world that I live in, and I've got an understanding of who I am and what my bodily functions are and what my limitations are, and etc. What my limitations aren't, perhaps, to the extent where they will even say, based on that false aqeedah, I can even change my fitrah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He establishes upon La ilaha illallah until we meet Him. Wallahu a'lam. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.